Why do you think you excelled at like so many different sports in high school?
Well, I think my parents gave me athletic genes. I think that was a big part of it. I'm sure my mom would have been a good athlete had she have played sports, and my dad was a pretty good high school athlete, and then obviously my height. And I think, too, they just got me involved in a bunch of different sports, which I think kind of helped develop and blossom my athleticism in different fields.
I mean, even late in high school, why did you think that basketball was actually going to be your sport?
Well, I was really tall and skinny, and so at that time I was kind of expecting maybe I would keep growing, and 6'7" a great point guard in the NBA, but I don't exactly have the quickness or speed nor ball handling skills to play basketball. Maybe if I grew another couple inches, you could play, a forward, and I was much more heavily recruited in basketball when I was younger because I was one of the taller kids and pretty good athlete and pretty decent basketball player. But it wasn't until kind of towards my senior year when I stopped growing and people realized, hey, you might be able to play football, because I was pretty good on defense in football, but I wasn't very good as an offensive player yet. But I think the college coaches kind of saw the athleticism from football, and they saw some of my talents on the basketball court, and they figured that I'd be a natural fit to play offensive line.
And what made you realize that was the direction you should pursue?
It was fairly easy because I had Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Miami recruiting me for football, and I had Holy Cross and UW Milwaukee and Marist and all these somewhat smaller schools recruiting me for basketball. And so it became pretty obvious what sport I was better at.
So that kind of made the decision for you. I mean, and
And
you didn't give any thought at the time to, hey, just go to like a smaller, lesser quality program to keep pursuing basketball?
It wasn't that I loved one sport over the other.
Okay.
For me, I just love sports. I just loved competing. I loved being out there with other guys, practicing and throwing elbows and getting my energy out. And so for me, I was just going to ride it as long as I could. And the basketball was kind of, maybe you could get a scholarship. And the football was like, here's all your scholarships. And it was pretty natural to say, well, football's my opportunity to keep playing sports. And I actually got recruited too by a number of colleges to do track and field. And so that was part of the allure to go to Wisconsin, was to be able to compete on the track and field team as well.
Right. Why was that important to you?
Because I just like doing a lot of sports. I probably, there was a time in high school when I was thinking, hey, if I go to Wisconsin, I could do basketball, track, and football together. And wouldn't that be fun? But then I think you kind of come to the realization that college football is more like a job than it is high school football. And you don't really have time to do all three sports, but track and football really makes sense because football's in the fall and track's in the spring, and you've got plenty of time to do both.
How quickly did you realize, though, that you couldn't do all three in college?
I think when I was being recruited by Wisconsin, maybe my senior year, there had been a basketball player who did both, and I talking to the coaches, and they were kind of telling me how difficult it was for him. And I just kind of got the realization too that I just wasn't that good at basketball to really be able to keep up with those guys. They could throw me in there and I could get a couple fouls and a few rebounds, but I just didn't have the ability to score with any of those guys or really get on the floor for any significant minutes. So it would have been a huge sacrifice to make to be a bench warmer in basketball, and I just figured that football just makes way more sense, football and track.